channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel. At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
A really important thing about GB News, and it's brought something completely different to the landscape.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
GB News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, the reality is that most British journalists are afraid. That's not GB News.
Journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
We're here to talk about things in a way that have never been broadcast on British airways before.
Do not miss a moment on GB News.
The #1 news channel in the country.
Hello, good morning, hope you're well. Live from Washington DC, this is GB News with the stories shaping Britain and America. Protests today outside Downing Street over the situation in Iran. More than 500 dead apparently in Iran so far. Other reports suggest maybe up to 2,000. And news just in, President Donald Trump has been briefed on strike options. It's a fast-moving situation. We'll have all the latest for you throughout the next 2 hours. Should Scotland boycott this year's World Cup in North America? It's taking place in the USA, Canada and Mexico, because that's what one Scottish columnist has called for. No guesses that she is a lefty wokerati, but she reckons Orange Man bad, so Scotland should snub the World Cup. What do you reckon? We'll debate that later. Elsewhere, we've got the latest images of the insufferable stars arriving in Beverly Hills, all the celebrities, there they are, for the Golden Globes. Adolescence, do you remember that one? The documentary which we all should watch because we need to know how bad white British working class kids are. Well, it's odds on to pick up an array of awards. We'll bring you the latest from Beverly Hills shortly. Also tonight,
I think the issue is that because I was a gay man in his circle, I was kept separate from what he was doing in the sexual side.
Peter Mandelson, the friend of the disgraced paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, well, he's back. And guess where and who he conducted his latest interview with? Well, the BBC, of course. I'm sure he felt at home with them. Anyway, that was his rather strange reason for knowing about Epstein's sordid activities. I've also got a very big and important Chagos exclusive for you, which I'll bring you in the second hour of the show. It really feels like the Chagos surrender deal could be up for being axed. And yeah, we'll get stuck into that very shortly. I'm Ben Leo. This is The Late Show Live. Joining me this evening in Washington DC is my panel tonight, Victoria Churchill and Simon Hankinson. And in London to take us through what's making the newspaper front pages, comedian, GB News superstar, Paul Cox. Hello Paul, hope you're well, thank you for your company tonight. Right, let's get stuck into the main story from this evening. Human rights groups are estimating that more than 500 people have been killed as Iran enters its 15th night of protest. Other organisations, by the way, unconfirmed, suggest it could be more than 2,000. Demonstrations have taken place all around the world, including hundreds gathering outside Downing Street, where protesters called for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps to be banned. And breaking tonight, President Donald Trump has been briefed on possible military strikes in Iran as he weighs up how to respond to protesters being slaughtered. The president is expected to meet senior advisors on Tuesday to discuss how America goes forward. Let me know your thoughts on all this at gbnews.com/your say. With me now, though, is Vahid Beheshti, an Iranian UK dual national journalist and human rights activist, and Andrew Ghali, the policy director at the National Union for Democracy in Iran. Hello, chaps. Thank you for your company. Are you both there? We'll start with Vahid first. Vahid, what's your take on what's going on in Iran? What's the latest, please?
Thank you all in GB News on behalf of Iranian people for the great effort that you have made in these past days to give a great coverage to what's happening inside of Iran. As you know, and as we speak, we are on the third day of blackout, internet blackout in Iran. The last time we remember the regime shut down the internet for 3 days, they killed officially 1,500 6 years ago, but unofficial was more than 4,000. You stated greatly, you said 500, but I have, through my contacts on the ground, at least 2,000 people have been killed in past 3-4 days. So this is a great, I would say, as we speak, crime against humanity taking place in Iran. So this brutal regime carrying out a massacre against innocent citizens in Iran. And this is the time for all activists, for all great media like GB News and others to focus on this. The Iranian people are not fighting for themselves as at this time. They're fighting with this brutal regime, the exporter of this jihadi, mad, evil Islamist ideology, which we are experiencing it in London, in different cities in Europe, in America, brainwashing our youth, turning them to the main enemy of our values, British values, American values. So they are not fighting for themselves. President Trump, from the beginning of this full-scale revolution, when they realized this is a different movement, this is not anymore uprising, this is a full-scale revolution, he made promise to Iranian people that his help is going to be on this, he's going to stand with them, he's going to help them. And Iranian people, all of them, calling on President Trump and all brave leaders at this time to target this evil regime urgently and forcefully.
Okay, Vahid, you're in London, I believe. Are you still protesting outside Downing Street because you want the IRGC to be prescribed? What's happened in London tonight? Can you explain for our viewers and listeners?
Today is the day 1056 that we are in front of Foreign Office camping. Started with my 72 days hunger strike. Today we had different demonstrations, different opposition groups. They had in front of number 10, in front of Iranian embassy. And in next days, they are going to, these demonstrations are getting bigger and bigger. And this is very important to note. As the repression intensifying in Iran and the shutdown of the internet, but streets are becoming more crowded. This is really interesting. So the people of Iran, just 2 hours ago, they hung big banner in Tehran from one of the big bridges, which it has been written, "We are not scared anymore. We will fight with this regime." So the Iranian regime, the Iranian people have nothing to lose anymore. So they decided they're gonna go all the way. But if there is any help that is going to be for them, it's going to be now. Even now, it's too late.
Okay. Andrew, President Trump is meeting senior advisors on Tuesday to discuss how to proceed with Iran. We understand America will take some action, but whether that looks like cyber attacks or it looks like strikes on military facilities, we don't know yet. But what would you like to see President Trump do? And also, are you of the mindset of most of the Iranian people, as far as I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, that they'd like the return of the Crown Prince, the exiled Crown Prince?
Sure, I'll start with the first question. I think primarily the goal here for the United States should be first to get the Iranian people back online. We need to be able to see what's happening in the streets. Again, anyone who tells you they know exactly what's happening right now is lying to you. We haven't been in touch. The military is now using tech to jam even Starlink signals, which was the last resort for people to access the internet. So getting people back online is the primary goal and should be the first task here. Beyond that, of course, there are many kinetic options as well that President Trump will be briefed on. But I just want to say what we know about these protests at the moment. The people have a ton of courage and are backed by President Trump, who has said we are going to stand with the Iranian people, and has also repeatedly said, I am not Barack Obama, alluding, of course, to Obama failing to enforce the red line in Syria when Assad used chemical weapons on his people. And finally, we know that the people have chosen their opposition leader. This is a really important moment and point in these protests. Every edition of protests in Iran since 2009 has gained more and more political clarity. This is the first time, though they have called against the regime for so long, this is the first time they have acknowledged an alternative, have responded to his calls in the streets en masse in millions, despite being shot at. So this is really important that the world also engage with the Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi as the opposition leader chosen by the people. That is one way to amplify the people's voice in this moment, all of them, not just, as you say, monarchists. This is for all Iranians on the street who have decided this is their alternative. This is the way to get beyond this Islamist dictatorship.
Okay, I think if it's of interest to anybody, I'm sure it is, the Crown Prince is at Mar-a-Lago this weekend. I'm quite sure he's not just having a spot of lunch. He may or may not be speaking to President Trump. Andrew, just very briefly. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought. Andrew, I'll leave you to it. Thank you very much for your time. Vahid as well. Thanks for your company tonight. And Jack Hadfield has been down at the protest today in London, and he's down the line now. Jack, what's been happening in London today? Just describe it for us, please.
Yes, so I'd say there were probably at least 1,000 people outside Number 10 this evening. Lots of them chanting Jahid Shah, it is long live the Shah, Reza Pahlavi. They were, again, the number of protesters, some mass, some not. But I certainly didn't feel threatened at all. And again, I will say the vast majority of the protesters here in London were actually from Iran or of Iranian descent. It's interesting, I was at a pro-Maduro rally on Monday, which was organized by leftist groups, and the only Venezuelans there I saw were like, no, we don't like Maduro, we love Trump, we're glad he's gone. So this is the comparison between what I've seen here today and other similar foreign protests in the streets of London. This is one where it seems that the Iranian people, certainly here in Britain, are completely aligned. Everyone here was completely, as I said, supporting Reza Pahlavi as being the a successor to the Ayatollah regime.
Were there any counter-protesters there, Jack? Because there's been stories this side of the pond in America today of people literally, not joking, waving Hezbollah and Hamas flags in certain cities, saying that America should keep its nose out of Iran's business.
No, I didn't see any counter-protesters at all. That's one reason, perhaps, I think this was a completely peaceful incident. After the rally finished at Downing Street, a lot of them then marched towards the Iranian embassy, where obviously yesterday somebody replaced the flag with the Crown Prince with the lion flag of Iran on the embassy. But no, again, everybody stayed completely peaceful. And again, mentioning Trump there, as you said, I spoke to a number of people. I spoke to one girl, Ella, who's a student here in Britain, having been here for the past couple of years, and lived under the Ayatollah's regime. She said that, I do think that, I do hope that President Trump will help us. And another thing, actually, on sort of the counter-protesters that you mentioned, she said that previously she'd been to pro-Palestine protests where her friend had said, come out and support Palestine. And she said, yes, of course, I'll come and do that. But now she said some of her friends who are Palestinians, or the Palestinians in general, are rather annoyed because they've let people who are pro-Israel partake in these in these protests. You could see some of the Israeli flags there on the screen. So she was completely baffled, and a lot of them were again baffled by the fact that they've been protesting together with the Palestinians. Why aren't the Palestinians coming out now and supporting, another oppressed people, people who are again under this dictatorial regime?
Jack, great work, mate. Keep it up, and we'll catch up very shortly. Stay safe. That's Jack Hadfield there in London. Joining me in Washington to discuss this is the US politics reporter for the Daily Mail, Victoria Churchill, and the senior researcher in border security and immigration, Simon Hankinson. Hello, welcome along, panel. Simon, Iran earlier today summoned the British ambassador following that protester in London taking the Islamic Iranian flag off the embassy. I laughed when I saw that. Surely they've got bigger things to worry about than summoning the ambassador because somebody ripped a flag down. That's their nut.
They're not going to miss an opportunity to be pompous. But yeah, they've got bigger things to worry about. I've seen many, I remember the revolution in 1979, 52 of my fellow diplomats, I wasn't a diplomat then, got taken hostage. They've had quite a few public demonstrations. There was a big one in 2022 after that young woman was killed for not covering her hair. But this one seems different. It's spread out in the countryside, and it's in towns and villages and cities where the government's usually very popular. So I think this one could be different from the others.
Victoria, your take on American interventionism. President Trump meeting senior advisors on Tuesday to discuss how to proceed with this. How would you like America to proceed?
Yeah, I mean, I think some people would like to see Trump tread carefully because he's already been reprimanded by Congress over his involvement in Venezuela. There was, of course, the vote on the War Powers Act. This was kind of a preliminary vote on the War Powers Act, which would then set up another vote in the U.S. Senate where 5 Republican senators actually sided against Trump. And of course, he kind of lashed out at them, said that none of them should ever be elected to office again. But, in Congress, we're seeing this come up time and time again, that Congress wants to be consulted on military action. So I think Trump's going to have to try to kind of thread a fine line between action that Congress will approve of versus one that they'll think that they need to be involved in.
I mean, I just don't know. Somebody on gbnews.com/yoursay said, Stuart, hi Stuart, you said we need to stay out of the Middle East, let them sort their own problems out. I mean, Iran has their grubby mitts all across the West. Let's talk about London. There are 20 terror attacks foiled in recent years, according to MI5, from Iranian sleeper cells. I've got a mate who works in counter-terror. They picked up 3 Iranians who came on small boats who were heading to the Israeli embassy in Kensington to blow it up. Iran's problem, America's problem with Iran should be our problem as well. The Ayatollah needs to be taken out. The Iranian regime needs to be taken out because it will do a hell of a lot of favours for the entire West, not just Israel, not just America, but for the UK as well. gbnews.com/yoursay. Keep those comments coming in. Still ahead on the Let's Show Live tonight.
Disgraceful. It's disgusting. And it's not to be tolerated. X has got to get a grip of this.
I thought he was talking about his own government's performance so far, but no, he was talking about X, Keir Starmer's latest attempt to urge an international clampdown of Elon Musk's social media platform hits a stumbling block. Also tonight.
Feels good. I said at the start of the campaign, I felt the pressure of the nation to try to get to World Cup.
This is a great story, and I can't wait for you to listen to this. After 28 years' absence, the Tartan Army, the Scots, should be desperate, shouldn't they, to get to the US this summer for the World Cup? Well, no, not for one columnist who's urging a boycott in opposition to President Trump. Scottish columnist, woke lefty lunatic who says that Scotland fans and even the team should refuse to travel because Orange Man bad. That coming up in just a tick.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to The Late Show Live with me, Ben Leo. I was just reading Ian's comment on your say about Keir Starmer. We just played a little clip before the break there about the Prime Minister talking about the potential ban on X. Ian said, gosh, I'm concerned for Keir Starmer talking about X. He looks deranged and slightly mad. I think he needs medical help. Yes, this is the story that attempts by Sir Keir Starmer to rally an international crackdown on X. Well, they seem to have petered out because Canada has refused to back him. The furore started when X's AI bot Grok had been used to create fake naked images of women and children. But Canada's Minister for AI, Evan Solomon, clarified Canada's position on a blanket ban by posting on X itself saying, contrary to media reports, Canada is not considering a ban of X, pretty much leaving Keir Starmer on his own. Downing Street's been briefing that under the Online Safety Act, they reserve the power to ban X's access to Britain, and this has predictably led to a backlash in the US government circles. Under Secretary of State Sarah B. Rogers, who Beverly Turner is interviewing tomorrow, big exclusive for The Late Show Live, she took aim at the government in the UK over cousin marriage, first cousin marriage. Meanwhile, Washington insiders have told The Telegraph that the White House has been weighing up how to send a strong message to Sir Keir Starmer without sanctioning government officials. With me now to discuss this further is the ex-Lib Dem councillor Matthew Holbert and the head of media for the Institute of Economic Affairs, Reem Ibrahim. Good evening, good morning to you both. Thanks for your company. Reem, ladies first, what's your take on this silly affair?
Well, thank you very much for having me on, Ben. And yeah, I mean, I think it is absolutely ridiculous. I think part of the problem is the absolute hysteria that has come from the issue with Grok and what it's actually being used for. Let's be very clear about this. Obviously, making sexual images of people without their consent is not good. It is illegal. Don't do it. That being said, it is the user that is the problem. If you are able to use a new tool like Grok or like any other AI platform like ChatGPT and Gemini to create create those kind of images, it is you that is the problem, not the tool. Are we going to start banning a pen and paper because I could draw somebody naked without their consent? Are we going to start banning painters? Are we going to start banning Photoshop, which is much easier to use to create sexual images of people without their consent? So really the problem is here, this is about the users and those people that are doing bad things, not the tools themselves. It's like blaming the tools is just completely ridiculous. Now, what I find really fascinating about this is why Grok specifically is being targeted. I think it is political. I think it is effectively the government finding a way to restrict X because right-wing opinions are actually able to be sort of not suppressed in the algorithm. They are more in abundance and people enjoy using it. I think this is a political ploy and nothing else. Otherwise, they'd also be talking about banning every single other AI.
Yeah, and I think, Matthew, Sarah B. Rogers, the Under-Secretary of State at the State Department here, she's got a point. She's saying, well, it's a surprise that the UK government, Labour, cares so much about women and kids. First of all, they called a grooming gangs inquiry far right, and also Sarah B. Rogers making a point today about first cousin marriage.
Well, great to be with you, Ben, and great to see Reem as well. Well, look, what I'd say to you is that, you know, X doesn't have some kind of inalienable right to exist. It doesn't exist outside the rule of law. It doesn't exist outside societal and social norms. It has to fit in within those. And I think it's perfectly reasonable for the government to say, and indeed for my own party to call for X to be suspended whilst an investigation takes place, because you know, I thought I'd hear, and I did hear from Reem, I was waiting for it and I heard it, a bit of whataboutery, and it's a bit like saying, hello Mr. Bank Robber, we can't charge you because some other people rob banks. I mean, that's a palpable nonsense.
Well, it is unfair, right? It's a double standard.
Go on, Reem.
Well, it's a double standard. It's unfair, and it's not whataboutery when you were saying that you were comparing one platform to every other, because it is a double standard. They're picking on X, they're picking on Grok, and I do think it's political because there's no other reason. If it was really about protecting women and girls from being AI generated, people are calling it being undressed, which is just completely untrue. It's AI, it's not real. These are fake images. That's actually the whole point of it. I think there seems to be some kind of hysteria around this. And the idea that X doesn't have some kind of inalienable right to exist, I think must be challenged, because fundamentally it's about freedom of expression. It's about the fact that many, many people enjoy using the platform, and the government just seems to be completely overstepping. Now, what we should be doing is saying, if you create illegal images, you will go to prison. You can be investigated.
But there's laws for that already, Reem. You make indecent images of kids, you're a paedophile. Well, I said, you know, yesteryear you would have got banged up for that, but these days maybe not. But there are existing laws for being a paedophile.
The laws already exist. It is already illegal to create indecent images of children. It's already illegal. Don't do it, and if you do it, you will go to prison. The problem is that there clearly isn't these kind of restrictions that are being actually implemented. The law already exists. Let's get the police to investigate those absolute wrong-uns that do that kind of thing, rather than get the government to restrict everybody else's freedom of expression.
And by the way, Matthew, under the Online Safety Act, which is what Keir Starmer and Labour are moaning about now, they're using this tool now to consider banning X. Under the Online Safety Act, they can track people on X who make indecent images of kids using Grok, and they can trace them. I know for a fact because police have quite helpfully helped me in recent months, tracing people who have sent death threats to my kids using the Online Safety Act. So they can do that already. You don't need to ban a platform. Do it already. You've got the legislation.
And they should absolutely do that. And I'm really sorry to hear about what's happened in regards to your family. That's absolutely disgraceful. But what I'd say to you is that I think this shows how unserious Elon Musk is in regards to this issue. Did he decide to act on it? Well, only in so much as he decided to make money out of it by saying, well, if you want to do this, here we go, folks, just pay us some money, pay us a premium service.
It means that anonymous accounts can't then do. I mean, really, the restricting to them being only paid accounts is actually a good thing, because it means that you have to have your bank details put into the app in order for you to be able to create images. So it adds a level of accountability.
But what I'd also
okay, guys, great debate. Last word, Matthew. Go on.
Okay, cheers. No, I was just going to say that, you know, with freedom of expression, with that right, comes great responsibility. And I'd argue that Elon Musk and X want the freedom, but don't want the responsibility.
OK, Matthew, thanks very much. Appreciate your time. Matthew Holbert and Reem Ibrahim, thank you guys for your spirited debate. Let's get the thoughts of my panel briefly. In DC, Simon Hankinson and Victoria Churchill. Victoria, what's your take on this? Is it political, or is Keir Starmer just really worried about women and girls?
Well, I think it is absolutely political. As we've talked about numerous times on this show, there's been so many different things in the UK that the Labour government has closed their eyes to. And I think this is just because it's an opportunity for them to target to something that is on the political right, that is giving people on the right a space to debate and discuss their ideas. Predominantly, of course, all social media platforms have a dark side. But the fact that this is being targeted specifically is, of course, a double standard.
What's your thoughts, Simon?
Yeah, I mean, it's two different issues. It's absolutely true that there's some pretty disgusting stuff out there on the internet, as anybody who's been there knows, and the ability of AI to create new disgusting stuff is terrifying to me and should be to any sane person. But I don't think Starmer is necessarily concentrating on that. He hates X, he hates Elon Musk, and he is not a big fan of free speech. You can't have, Elon Musk can't control the thoughts and the groks and the musings and the tweets of God knows how many people are on that platform.
Yeah.
They can take off the really bad stuff, and people should be responsible for what they do on there, and not shut down entire platforms because of what a couple idiots do.
Yeah, exactly. I just think as well, you know, if there are, I haven't seen any, but if there are people making images of kids, AI images of kids, then I shouldn't think it's too many. A, go and find them. B, use the Online Safety Act to trace them. I know it can be done. That's what it's for, the Online Safety Act. It forces social media companies into giving up data, identity of users who post stuff, even if they have anonymous accounts. You don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I think if you do that, I think the consensus is that you've got ulterior motives. Right, some breaking news out of Los Angeles. A truck has apparently ploughed into a demonstration on Iran. So this is just coming into the newsroom now. According to Daily Mail witnesses, they said it was waving Iranian flags and had a banner saying, "No Shah, no regime. USA, don't repeat 1953. No Mullah." So let me just repeat this. Some breaking news out of Los Angeles tonight. A truck has apparently ploughed into a demonstration on Iran, and according to eyewitnesses, this is from the Daily Mail, they said the truck that ploughed into people was waving Iranian flags and had a banner saying, "No Shah, no regime, USA, don't repeat 1953. We will get some information from you as we have it about injuries or potential death tolls. I hope not, but more details on that coming shortly from Los Angeles. Another bit of breaking news as well. President Donald Trump has just posted, he said the military is looking at it. We're looking at very strong options on Iran. And on Venezuela, he said, working well with Venezuela's leadership. It's working out well. I hear Tuesday or Wednesday with meeting with Venezuela's Machado. So he's commenting there on the situation in Iran, saying the military is looking at Iran in terms of US intervention. And on Venezuela, he's just posted saying that they are working well with Venezuela's interim leadership. Right, coming up next on The Late Show Live, is Scotland about to boycott the World Cup in opposition to President Trump? You won't believe this column that's been penned today in a Scottish newspaper. Some lefty lunatic says that Scotland and its fans should boycott the World Cup because President Trump's a bad man. That's coming up next.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as
and now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Stephen Dixon, and thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to The Late Show Live. Very quick email from Jane. You said, Ben, Adolescence is not a documentary, it's a drama based on real events. Yeah, I know, I was just being sarcastic because the BBC, of course, when they interviewed Kemi Badenoch about it last year, the BBC presenter was saying it's a documentary. Anyway, we're getting on to Adolescence in just a second. They're up for an array of awards at the Golden Globes. However, this story is great. I love it. Do you remember these images? A night of jubilation at Hampden Park in Scotland as the national team crowned a hard-fought 4-2 victory against Denmark to secure their place at this year's World Cup after a 28-year absence, so nearly 3 decades away from the World Cup. But listen to this. In an opinion column in a leading Scottish newspaper, The Courier, based in Dundee, the home of my wife's family, Katie Gordon, who's a columnist, she said that Scotland should boycott the upcoming competition because of opposition to President Trump, basically saying, as she wrote, we need to send a message to Trump and his far-right cohort that Scotland does not agree or condone with what they're doing in the USA. She cites Venezuela, she cites ICE, and amongst other stuff as well. With me now to discuss this is the former SNP councillor and Alex Salmond's former chief advisor, Christopher McElney, and the human rights campaigner, Peter Tatchell. Christopher, I'll start with you. Are you going to boycott Scotland's participation in the World Cup because Orange Man bad?
No. Well, Scotland technically did boycott the World Cup for the past 28 years, but we'll be going to America this year. And, you know, I think these are just a symptom of the decline of print media, that they struggle to, you know, compete with the likes of GB News and other new emerging platforms, and they just have to print, you know, quite frankly, rubbish for clickbait, because it's the only way they can try and maintain their advertising budgets. You know, the New England area, which is where Boston is, where 2 of the games is, it's about 3 times the size, the population of Scotland. The UK government has a consulate there. The Scottish government has an overseas office in Washington, DC. So, I mean, this is just a perfect situation, never mind the football side of things, for Scotland to make some, you know, serious gains on trade, investment, economics, the sort of stuff that creates jobs and actually puts money in people's pockets and makes people's lives better, as opposed to, you know, some sort of virtual signalling nonsense saying that Scotland have waited 28 years to qualify for the Men's World Cup. And somehow we should. I mean, I think 1930 odds we actually never went to the World Cup. We boycotted that because we thought that the home nations match against England was a more prestigious tournament. So, I mean, this is just nonsense. You know, we've had this before. You know, England went to Qatar, England went to Russia. Football's football. It's the ultimate unifying force, and you know, it's a magnificent opportunity for Scotland to make some magnificent trade deals on whiskey, on salmon, and the plethora of things that are all good about Scotland.
Okay. The lady's name, the columnist, is a lady called Katie Gordon, and she's written, in many ways over the centuries, Scotland has been the one to stand up against oppressors or those who seek to bully others. We can do that again, and we can do it on Trump's doorstep. I think the Scotland men's football team and its supporters should boycott the 2026 World Cup in North America. Peter Tatchell, Scotland are playing Brazil in Miami, and the Late Show Live will be there, so I hope they don't boycott it, because I'm looking forward to going to Miami.
Well, I think there is one very good reason to consider a boycott, and that is because I don't think travel to the United States is any longer safe for anyone, and it will not be safe.
I'll leave off, Peter. I live here now. I know I felt more safe.
It will not be safe. It will not be safe for the players, the coaches, or the many fans and supporters, because ICE has snatched foreign citizens off the streets. It's detained them at airports for no good reason. It's even arrested and detained.
But they're not illegal migrants,
citizens.
Peter. They're Scottish football fans who are here on visas watching the footy.
Excuse me, you let your other guests speak. I'd like to finish, but what I'm trying to say is, given this lawlessness of ICE and the fact that completely innocent people are being snatched and held in detention, I don't think it's safe for footballers, coaches, managers and fans to go to the United States under these conditions. Now, there's a separate issue about whether we should be signaling our disapproval of the extreme right-wing authoritarianism of the Trump regime. That's a separate issue. But I think solidarity with the American people against a quasi-dictator is perfectly morally ethical and would be a good thing.
Well, Peter,
I mean, there's so much to unpack there. Go on, Alex.
I'm not going to sneak into America in a whiskey barrel. You know, I'm going to apply for an ESTA. I'm hopefully going to get it granted, and I'm going to actually fly to Canada and then enter via Canada just to try and save some money and be staying with family. So, I mean, I just think there's a totally false equivalence. You know, I've respected you for a long time. I think that, you know, over the years you had a really hard time that people, you know, attack you because you're ahead of the curve on things like the minimum wage, which you led the way for in the 1980s. But I think on this, you're just plainly wrong. I think there's a football tournament. I think people from all over the world are going to go to it. They're going to bring their respective cultures to America. Surely that can only be a good thing, that we enrich it by infusing a bit of culture and colour and vibrancy into it, and all the things and the experiences that we get there and bring it back. We've not been to a World Cup, you know, since France in 1998. It's the sort of stuff that people have spoken about, how great an experience that was for the last 28 years. And I think it would be, you know, foolhardy to try and deprive that of a new young generation of people in Scotland, young kids that are going to look up to their heroes, and are probably going to, you know, go into many positive aspects of life thanks to this magnificent experience that they're going to get by watching their team play in a World Cup. And I think that there are obvious geopolitical issues at play here. Scotland winning the Men's World Cup isn't going to influence that. It's obviously going to be good for us back home when we win the World Cup. Hopefully England manage to stay in as well long enough, and, you know, I'll be cheering them all the way until they play Scotland. But I think we just need to have a dose of perspective here. This is about a football tournament. It's about, you know, the people that go to watch the Scottish national team, the Tartan Armies are, you know, dubbed across the world. We have such a good reputation everywhere we go. We come back and people are glad that we've came. And, you know, with my other hat on, you know, I'll be going. Hopefully I get my tickets, because you've had to apply for a ballot. But from a UK and a Scottish government perspective, this is just a magnificent opportunity as well to get over there on the ground and get some good deals done to create some decent jobs that we need back here in Scotland and the UK. And I think, you know, it would just be, you know, it would just be silly to say we're boycotting it.
Of course, I wish the Scotland team well. I wish the Scotland team well. I understand the passion. I totally get it. You said you're going to apply for an ESTA. Well, you know, people who have applied for ESTAs, who've got ESTAs, have been arrested at US airports on arrival and detained for 1 to 3 days in an ICE detention centre. I hope that's not going to happen to you.
That's not true.
But I fear it could happen to other fans. Sorry? Sorry?
What have they been detained for? What have they been detained for?
Well, got under complete nonsense that they perhaps expressed a disagreement with American foreign policy, that they were forced to show their mobile phones, and something was found where they disagreed with the Trump administration, and they were put in detention. And that has not only happened to people
really?
with ESTA,
where did you hear that?
With valid, it's been all over the news, and I've heard lots of people talk about it who are involved in looking after Americans, tourists going to America, and they've expressed concerns to me about it. But, you know, the other issue is that, you know, even American citizens who are citizens with American passports have been detained and put in detention. So I'm just trying to raise a red flag that I don't think it's safe, and I hope all the players and fans will get in okay. But that's a big gamble, because people are just being unilaterally, arbitrarily stopped and held for hours, sometimes released, but sometimes put in detention. There was a case of a woman not long ago who was held for nearly 2 weeks. She was an American citizen. She was held for nearly 2 weeks in horrendous conditions in an ICE detention centre. There have been French people who have been detained unlawfully, Canadians. This is not just one-off. There have been multiple cases, and that's my fear. That's my fear.
Well, I don't think that Donald Trump's going to try and detain the Tartan Army. I think he'll have a bit of a hard task of doing that. I mean, he can detain us in a pub for all he wants, but and I don't mean to make light of this, because understand there are clear tensions. One of the points you made, Peter, was solidarity with the American people, but you got to respect that over 50% of the American people voted for Donald Trump. So it's solidarity with the people that you agree with, I guess, is what you're trying to say. For me, I think that any time that people that aren't really interested in football try to politicise football, it always backfires, because the people that you're trying to actually influence, they turn away from your argument, because they're just there to watch football. They're not there to make a political statement. They're there to watch their team. They're doing nothing wrong. They shouldn't be vilified or feel as if they're somehow impinging on a human rights movement, or somehow they're making a political statement even by going. They should be allowed to just go to the World Cup. They should be allowed to enjoy it, and hopefully everyone has a safe time. And I hope Wales and Ireland and Northern Ireland make it as well. They've still got a chance, and I hope everyone shows Scotland and the rest of England in a really good light.
Yeah, I'm 100% with the fans and with the players. I wish them all good luck. I just fear that some of them might end up with some rather horrific, unexpected experiences. It's not about Donald Trump per se. It's about ICE, the immigration force, and the way it operates. It is a lawless body. It's a lawless body that's been responsible for the deaths of many, many people. Some people have actually died. I think over 30 people have died in ICE detention in the United States in recent times.
Really?
That is shocking.
Sorry, Peter. Sorry, I've let some of your other stuff go because I can't verify. I mean, the woman you just mentioned about 2 weeks, being detained for 2 weeks. She was here. I'm just reading this story now, so this is off the top of my head. She was here illegally in the first place. So the length of detention was questioned, but ICE picked her up justifiably. What are you talking about? 30 people have died under ICE detention.
Well, in fact, that was, I think it was on Newsnight the other night. One of the former ICE agents admitted that. He admitted that they died in detention.
What, 30?
So, you can dispute what I'm saying. You can dispute what I'm saying, but that's fine. But I'm telling you, at least 30 people have died in ICE detention. And, there's an example just in the news today where a man was forced out by ICE, ended back in his homeland. He'd been in a sort of a black hole in an ICE detention centre with no communication with his family or lawyers. When he eventually was sent back to a Central American country, I can't remember which one, he was in a vegetative state. And the family is still asking,
well, I'm just reading some stats here. There were 32 deaths in ICE detention in 2004. Who was the president in 2004? Was it Bush? So there seems to be deaths every...
We're talking about deaths in recent times. We're talking about in the last year.
Yeah, it's saying in 2025 there were 25 deaths. But my point is there are deaths every year in ICE detention for one reason or another. I don't think it's exclusive to Trump's administration. That's what
for one reason or another. The question is, why did they die in ICE detention? And you haven't answered the question about the healthy man who was put in ICE detention, and when he was returned to his family maybe in Colombia, he was in a vegetative state. How did a healthy man go into ICE and come out in a vegetative state? Questions, they won't even answer the question.
You could probably ask the same about the 32 people who died under Bush in 2004.
ICE won't allow an inquiry. ICE won't allow an investigation. They're even trying to now take over control of the investigation of the murder of Rene Good.
All right, we
don't want anybody else. They want the Minneapolis authorities to investigate because they want to cover up the course
and
Peter.
It wasn't a murder. By the way, it wasn't a murder. It wasn't a murder, and it's a federal investigation as it stands. ICE aren't investigating their own killing. But Peter Tatchell, thank you very much. Appreciate your company, and as well to Christopher McKelney there as well. gbnews.com/your say. Let us know what you think on that. More breaking news coming in. Well, it's a busy night. President Donald Trump has said on Greenland should make the deal, and we're talking about acquiring, not having short term. Let me just read that again. Greenland, he says, should make a deal. We're not talking about acquiring Greenland with money financially. It's not about having it short term. President Trump there speaking about Greenland in the last couple of moments. It's a big night for a show that occupied so many in Parliament as Adolescence. Remember that? The Netflix banger, apparently. It's up for an array of awards at the Golden Globes tonight. This is live shots from Beverly Hills, the Golden Globes taking place tonight. Adolescence is 1 to 18 on, if you're a betting man or woman, or they, them, to win all their awards. We're going to be getting the latest from Beverly Hills in just a tick on The Late Show Live.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're
the failure is
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to The Late Show Live. We're going to be going live to Los Angeles after, well, in about 10 minutes because, of course, this breaking news of this truck that apparently has careered into a massive crowd of Iranian protesters, anti-regime protesters. We still aren't sure, of course, who's responsible, what's going on. Was it an accident? Was it potentially a deliberate attack? But we do know there have been some injuries. The Daily Mail is reporting that chaos erupted at a pro-Iranian freedom rally in Los Angeles. Witnesses said the truck barreled towards protesters protesters waving Iranian flags. This is live pictures now of Los Angeles on your screens. The car, it was a U-Haul van, which is basically a rental truck, attempted to force its way through the gathering as a large banner taped to its side declared, "No Shah, no regime, USA, don't repeat 1953, no Mullah." So you'd have to think from that. Simon Hankinson, what's your take from that? It's saying no Shah, no regime. Of course, we're speculating, but what does that mean? No Shah, no regime, USA, don't repeat 53.
He's referring to the reported CIA coup that overthrew the socialist prime minister or president of Iran, Mohammad Mossadegh, back in the 50s. And he's presumably a regime supporter. He supports the Ayatollah, and he does not want these protesters out there. He doesn't want the regime overthrown. So where this guy came from, if that's who he is, I mean, it could have been someone who lived here his whole life, or it could have been an agent who came over in the past couple of years when the border was wide open, but definitely a pro-regime from what the writing said on the truck.
The Daily Mail is reporting that as police escorted the driver away, the driver, by the way, was dragged out the truck by protesters. As police escorted him away, several protesters were seen trying to punch him and strike him with flagpoles, forcing officers to push the crowd back. And as the truck came to a stop eventually after careering into the crowds, a large group of protesters was seen surrounding the truck, with some demonstrators smashing its windows, shouting and trying to get the driver out. Yeah, you have to think with the flag and the messaging on the side of this truck, again, this is speculation, but I guess it doesn't take an idiot to say that it potentially seems intentional. We have no update on injuries or potential fatalities. I hope not just yet, but there are certainly some injuries, the Daily Mail is reporting. We'll get more on that as we can, and hopefully we can try and get some guests from LA as well. Very quickly, the Golden Globes are taking place tonight. Do you remember this with Kemi Badenoch on the BBC?
Have you watched Adolescence yet?
No, I haven't. I probably won't.
Well, Adolescence is up for 8 awards tonight at the Golden Globes in Hollywood. With me now to discuss this is GB News entertainment correspondent Alex Davies. Alex, it's the show that everybody should have watched, and if you didn't, you're some sort of ignoramus, according to the BBC, not my words. But they're up for 8 awards tonight. They're going to scoop them all, are they?
Apparently so, yes. Your favourite documentary, my favourite documentary. Adolescence, yeah, it's probably Britain's best chance at tonight's awards. It's up for a staggering amount of awards. Owen Cooper, the young lad who shot to fame in this series, he's already swept up across the board. He won Emmys, BAFTAs galore last year. He's odds on a long distance to get Best Supporting Actor. Stephen Graham, he's on for Best Actor in a limited series. The show itself has got limited series. Erin Doherty, Best Supporting Actress in a limited series, and Ashley Walters is in the Best Supporting Actor as well, but he's likely to lose to Owen Cooper. It's a controversial, I keep calling it a documentary because the BBC called it a documentary. It's a controversial series, obviously, for what it is. It depicts a young 13-year-old boy who gets swept up in online incel world and ends up stabbing a young girl. However, it came under quite a lot of fire for its depiction of a young white boy being the face of knife crime, as everybody made quite a big deal of at the time. But it hasn't put the Golden Globes off. They're still backing it hugely. They've given it plenty of nods. And yeah, I think this time tomorrow we'll be looking at another shelf full of trophies for the Adolescence cast.
Well done, good for them. Who's hosting the Golden Globes tonight? Alex? It used to be Ricky Gervais, of course, infamously back in the day. He was great. Put the insufferable celebrities in their place. Who's hosting tonight?
So tonight it's Nikki Glaser. She's a famous US comedienne. Ricky Gervais is up for an award, though. He's up for Best Stand-Up Special. On that one, we're not too sure whether or not he will pluck it. He's just released his latest Netflix special as well. Shot to #1 on the Netflix charts within 24 hours. Maybe he's not there, but maybe he will get the award. We'll have to wait and see.
So that was Ricky Gervais' Mortality, I think. Is that the one?
That's the one, and that's the one that he makes a joke about a comedian in the UK called Rosie Jones, who then came out and did an interview and told him to stick to, shall we say, safer jokes rather than going after the marginalised groups that he likes to make fun of, and what he's built a career pushing the boundaries, and he's been told not to by one Rosie Jones.
Yeah, Ricky Gervais won't be there tonight in Hollywood. He said that he doesn't have any joy watching his fat face on screen. I'm probably not going to the Golden Globes. It's too far to go. It takes a lot for me to get off the couch. So good luck to Ricky Gervais. He won't be there. But Alex, thanks very much for that update. Yeah, well done to Adolescents. I couldn't care less about it. All the celebs going to the Golden Globes. But yeah, good luck to them. Alex Davies, GB News entertainment correspondent. We're going live to LA very shortly for the latest on that potential terror attack. Don't go anywhere.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good morning. Coming up on The Late Show Live, I've got a big, huge Chagos exclusive for you. Could we be weeks, maybe months away from the surrender deal, Keir Starmer's surrender deal, being axed? Top brass has written to the Lords, top Royal Navy staff, ahead of a crunch vote in a last-ditch attempt to prevent the handover. But the big breaking story tonight, Los Angeles pictures here, live from LA. There has been what we could potentially call a deliberate attack on Iranian protesters, anti-regime protesters who flooded to the streets of LA, hundreds of them, in protest against the current Islamist regime. A truck has careered into around 500-600 people with a political message on the side, appearing to support the current Ayatollah and the regime there. More on that in just a sec.
The thing that I like about the flags is that we're trying to remind everyone that this country's got a great history and a great culture, and it shouldn't be erased. We should be learning this at school from a young age.
Also, you won't believe how much money, your money, council tax money, has been spent ripping down British flags and Union Jack flags, St George's flags, all over Britain. They're spending your money ripping these down. I'll get the US reaction with a proper patriotic American in just a second. This is The Late Show Live. Remember, no breaks in this hour. Welcome to the Late Show Live. My panel with me in DC, Victoria Churchill and Simon Hankinson. The breaking news this morning from Los Angeles is that a truck has careered into a crowd of around 500 or 600 people in LA. Those people were protesting the current regime in Iran, calling for them to go. A rental truck, careered into the crowd with a political message on the side, seemingly in support of the current regime there, the Ayatollah. These are live pictures now from Los Angeles. The Daily Mail is reporting that protesters tried to pull the driver out of the van. They were smashing windows, trying to punch the driver in the face, but police now have apprehended the driver, and we are awaiting more details on the number of injuries and maybe, potentially, but I hope not, deaths as well. The Daily Mail reporting that law enforcement officers eventually pulled a man from the vehicle and took him into custody. As police escorted him away, protesters were seen trying to punch him and strike him with flagpoles. There was, Simon Hankinson, a message on the side of the truck which careered into the crowd saying, no Shah, no regime, USA, don't repeat 1953, no Mullah. And there was an Islamic Iranian flag apparently on the side of that U-Haul truck. What's your take, your first reaction to this?
My reaction is that I'm shocked that there's someone who is a full supporter of the Iranian regime living in the United States. I shouldn't say shocked. I'm not surprised, and that would be my guess. I can't see any other reason for someone to take an empty rental truck and run it into a bunch of people, presumably trying to hurt them. In the last couple of years, we've had an open border. We know that many Iranians have come in, some of them fleeing the regime, but some of them possibly agents or people who are supportive of the regime who are coming here for other purposes. So, you know, we're speculating now, but this isn't something that shocks me. It's probably predictable based on the fact that we've let in millions of people about whom we know absolutely nothing the past few years. Having said that, this guy could have been living here 50 years and just got upset that the Iranian regime is looking like it's going to topple.
Same issue in the UK, by the way. Open borders. We don't know who they are, where they're from. What does USA don't repeat 1953 mean? That was a message sprawled on the side of the truck. What does that mean?
Well, he's saying that he doesn't want the Trump administration to do what the Eisenhower administration did, or maybe the Truman. I have to remind myself, back in the 50s when the United States made every effort to topple the prime minister, the socialist prime minister of Iran, and after which the Shah was installed as the ruler until the revolution in '79. So he's saying, you know, that the message would seem to be USA, stay out of Iran's business, and he supports the regime.
Yeah, got it. Victoria, LA Police Department are saying they're investigating the possible motive for the driver's action, noting the writing on the side of the van. LAPD said no ambulances were called following the incident. There may only just be 2 minor injuries, which I guess with a crowd of 600 people is pretty good going.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Hopefully that number does not tick up. Hopefully there's no further injuries that are reported out of there. But again, I think this just goes to show that we have no idea who's in our country. This is something that conservatives, Republicans, namely, have been sounding the alarm on for years. Of course, this was a key point of Trump's first campaign, was the border immigration. It went on all throughout his first term. And then, of course, the Biden administration let down. They let their foot off the gas. They let numbers of people through without proper vetting. And I think, unfortunately, here we're seeing the consequences of this. But I also think it's important to point out that, you know, hopefully the approach from the Trump administration is going to be one of empowering the Iranian people to make decisions for themselves, whatever that may look like. You know, I think there's, again, as I kind of talked about earlier, there's apprehension from Congress about Trump going too far. He already had the strikes on Iranian nuclear sites just about 6 months ago, last summer. And so, you know, the big question is, what can he do without putting boots on the ground? Even your kind of more neocon types in Congress, even people like Lindsey Graham, who love a war, who love military intervention, even they don't want to see boots on the ground, at least based off some interviews that I saw Graham doing today. So, you know, again, I think Trump's team is going to present many options in front of him, but, you know, hopefully the president picks the right one that sends a message, but also doesn't entangle the U.S. in conflicts, because, you know, his base doesn't want the U.S. involved long-term anywhere in the world, and they want the focus to be here domestically.
I'm just looking at some video on social media, which I hope we can show you viewers at home. So the driver was pulled out of this truck by very angry protesters, and he is basically standing on the bonnet of the van, swatting away protesters who are trying to strike him with flagpoles. They're trying to punch him and get to him, but the guy is standing on the bonnet of the car, the truck, basically taking refuge from this baying crowd. We'll endeavour to get that to you very, very shortly. But as it stands, no confirmed fatalities just yet. Hopefully it is just a couple of minor injuries, but we'll get that footage to you shortly and any other major updates as it comes into the newsroom. So just to reiterate, if you're tuning into the Late Show Live just now, a truck has ploughed into a crowd of around 600 people in LA who were protesting the current Iranian regime. So there are anti-regime protesters. They want the Ayatollah out. This truck came careering in. It had a pro-regime message on the side, and there are, as it stands, just a couple of minor injuries. But any more updates, I will deliver them to you as we get them. Right, let's move on. We've got a GB News exclusive here on the Late Show Live. Peers are preparing for a crunch Lords vote later today over the Chagos Islands. We see a High Court challenge because Chagossians say they're hopeful Sir Keir Starmer's plan to hand the Chagos Islands to Mauritius will be blocked. In a letter seen by GB News, retired military chiefs have issued a rallying cry to peers ahead of the crunch vote on Monday, urging Britain's national interest to take top priority. They stress sovereign control of overseas bases is essential to the UK and freedom of military action, citing Diego Garcia as a unique and irreplaceable strategic asset. So this letter is from current and former Royal Navy personnel, including Rear Admirals. Lord Admiral West has been quoted in there as well. The letter reads, "We believe that the Labour Party has been disingenuous to the point of distortion and dishonesty in its presentation of the case for transfer of the Chagos Islands to Mauritius." And this, of course, follows the Late Show Live exclusive just a few nights ago about the exiled First Minister of the Chagos Islands, who had written to President Donald Trump urging him to intervene in the Chagos surrender. He even offered President Trump an island named after himself if he could get involved and stop Keir Starmer giving the islands away. Let me just read you some of this letter. So it's to members of the House of Lords, and it's signed by the likes of Rear Admiral Chris Parry, who currently serves in the Royal Navy, Rear Admiral Roger Lane Knott, who's retired. Sorry, he's not retired, Lane Knott. Retired Major General Tim Cross of the British Army, Colonel Richard Kemp of the British Army, Squadron Leader Mark Nash of the RAF, and so on and so on. And as I said, Admiral Lord West is also quoted. Let me just read this letter, exclusively obtained by GB News. It says, "We write to you both as individuals and collectively at the moment of grave concern and potential consequences regarding the future strategic interests of our country. As the Secretary of State for Defence, John Healey, rightly stated, Diego Garcia is unique. We do things there that we simply could not do anywhere else. President Trump has similarly reinforced the essential truth. You don't defend leases the same way. You have to own it. Countries can't make 9-year deals or even 100-year deals. Countries have to have ownership. You don't defend ownership. You don't defend leases." Sorry, you do defend ownership. You don't defend leases. They're basically asking Lords, peers in the House of Lords, to vote down this Chagos deal. And again, I stress there is a crucial line here which says, "We believe the Labour Party has been disingenuous to the point of distortion and dishonesty in its presentation of the case of transfer for the Chagos Islands to Mauritius." Simon, what do you make of this?
Well, I've never understood the Chagos deal. I mean, it seems to be the biggest own goal in British foreign policy in the last generation. You're going to pay billions of dollars to Mauritius, a country that has, as far as I can see, no legitimate claim over the Chagos Islands. Why they're doing this, I guess it's just sort of colonial guilt or just, the constant self-flagellation of Britain today. But it's a disaster from foreign policy and a military and a security and an alliance with the United States point of view. And I wish they would put a stop to it, and if the House of Lords can shut it down, fantastic.
Yeah, Victoria, it finishes this letter saying, "Respectfully, we urge all those in the House of Lords who endeavour in their service to the United Kingdom to place country before party to vote down this prejudice bill at its third reading on Monday, later today, and avert possibly the most serious military strategic error since the Suez crisis."
Yeah, I mean, I think you have two very distinct things going on the world stage. Of course, Trump is trying to make a stake in Greenland to increase U.S. military presence in areas that are of strategic importance to the U.S. And then you have Sir Keir Starmer, at least on this incident here, trying to pull back the UK's military power and making sure that their footprint is less than it was when he came to office. And I think the stark contrast between those two is not surprising, but it also shows, who has the best interests of their country at heart and who doesn't. And I think it's really great that these military leaders are trying to tie in this idea of putting country over party. I think this is something I'd like to see Democrats do more of in the U.S. Congress, and it'll be interesting to see how this vote goes later today, at least UK time later today.
Okay. Let's get the take of Air Vice Marshal Stephen Abbott, who I'm delighted to say joins me live down the line now. Stephen, thank you for your company this morning. What's your take on this letter? It's signed by some pretty influential, currently serving and retired personnel from the RAF, the Navy, the Army as well. Do you think it will have much of an effect when the vote comes to the Lords later today?
I think it's got the possibility of persuading non-party aligned Lords, the crossbenchers in particular, to take it very seriously. You have given me sight of the letter. I can only comment it's concise and it's accurate. If you break out the analysis of what's going on into 3 Gs, if you like, 3 geos in geostrategic terms, with apologies to some TV pretenders, location, location, location. It's difficult to think of a more strategically important location than the base at Diego Garcia, with with overseas access up into Iraq and Iran and Yemen, freedom from asymmetric threats, sitting across major sea line access up into the Red Sea and into the Gulf from the Asia Pacific. America may well be pivoting more to China, in which case Diego Garcia is going to remain central to its plans. So a unique location. In geopolitical terms, it's difficult to think of another example that exemplifies the special relationship with the United States. I mean, we can define that and analyze that in any way, but this is a unique agreement between these two powers that has endured since the 1960s, important in the Cold War with access up into southern Russia, important now with access into Iran, and gives America a very clear footprint. And we're going to put that geopolitical relationship with America and influence with Trump in particular at risk for a somewhat tenuous principle of international law, and we're going to make it access treaty-based for the Americans. It's difficult to understand why you would do that. And in geoeconomic terms, there's no getting away from the fact that the British taxpayer is going to be asked to fund £35 billion over a period of time to make this happen, whereas at the moment the costs are de minimis. It's just not costing us anything to do this. So we're trading a degree of certainty in our relationship with America, a degree of certainty in our posture in the Indian Ocean for a huge amount of risk. It's also interesting to note that the Mauritius is a signatory to a treaty which has implications for the movement and transit of nuclear weapons. And as the sovereign power and as a signatory to that treaty, I would imagine it will want to know what America is doing. I can't see the Americans telling them. This is just simply going to introduce risk into this treaty. And of course, Britain is in hoc, as the letter makes quite clear, to fund this deal, for 99 odd years. China is a risk. China can influence Mauritius, and if one, sorry, just to go back to my final geoeconomic, Britain has no geoeconomic interest in exploiting the Chagos archipelago. It's introduced a huge maritime protection region. It's not going to exploit that for fisheries or seabed resource mining, but China might want to, and it may put pressure on Mauritius to do that. And if we start seeing more Chinese maritime presence in that area, then this potentially draws in India as well, which has an interest and not normally mentioned. So in terms, geostrategic, geopolitical, geoeconomic, This decision is wrong on all of those counts. It introduces risk into a largely risk-free solution at the moment. And it's difficult to understand why the British government would do that. What risk is it seeking to mitigate that makes it worth taking all those other risks? What is it not telling us? Now, I fully understand the need for national security discretion. But in this instance, I think it does behove government to lay out very clearly why we're going to pay, why we're risking a relationship with a key ally, the United States, at a time when we really need influence over it. We really do. And why we're risking allowing America's potentially most serious adversary an into that region. It fails on every account. Yeah. And it fails on one further account. It's treaty-based. Yeah. It's treaty-based. De Gaulle was very, very clear about treaties. Like young women and fresh roses, they last as long as they last. And that introduces a huge element of risk from the American perspective. I am surprised that Trump has been quite so laid back about what Sir Keir Starmer is up to. There may be more to play in that area. Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's fine. No, apologies for interjecting. Yeah, I think the screw is turning. You've got this letter, but also a couple of nights ago, Stephen, we delivered the exclusive that the exiled First Minister of the Chagos Islands had written personally to President Trump. I think the letter was landing on the desk of the Oval Office either today or tomorrow. What's today? Sunday. Yeah, yesterday or today. And yeah, you'd have to think President Trump will look at it again. Why, though, when we've got the likes of you, Lord Admiral West, all these other top personnel, why does the British government think they know best when you military experts are raising such concern?
Well, governments are driven by ideology, and I am reluctant to criticise any government that is democratically elected, but there is an ideological preference here in favour of an interpretation of the rules-based approach to international relations that is hardly warranted, is extreme in a way that we've not seen before. We mourn the death at the moment after Venezuela of the rules-based system. But there's always has to be a degree of pragmatism in politics, particularly if you're going in the free world. And it seems to me that this decision by the UK government is so ideologically driven that it literally abandons all form of pragmatism and British national interest. It introduces risk where there was no risk before. And interestingly enough, in the Falkland Islands, in Denmark, where we are absolutely forcing the view that the people of those nations have a right to decide their future, the Chagosians seem to have been pushed to one side.
Stephen, such a great point. Yeah. Starmer bangs on about the Greenlanders and Denmark, talking about they should decide their own fate. Didn't give a damn about the Chagosians. Stephen Abbott, thank you very much. Air Vice Marshal Stephen Abbott, really fascinating chatting to you. Thank you so much. We're going to go to the weather in just a sec, and we'll be back for more on the Chagos exclusive in just a tick.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. Conditions look much milder across the UK today than of late, but we do hold on to fairly unsettled weather too. Outbreaks of rain in most areas and fairly blustery, especially towards the northwest of the UK. Here we could well see some gales, if not severe gale force winds, certainly through the morning. Gusts of wind towards the northwest, say up to 70, even 80 miles an hour. Further south, we'll see a bit of brightness to start the day, particularly across the east and northeast of England. But notice these showers towards the southwest, pushing their way northeastwards across England and Wales as we go through the day. And some of those showers merging to give some longer spells of rain too into the afternoon. Much milder than of late, temperatures in the north up to 7 to 9 degrees, peaking at 12 degrees down towards the southeast, that's into the mid-50s in Fahrenheit. As we go towards the end of the day, we do hold on to quite blustery weather across the far north and northwest of Scotland. Further outbreaks of rain to come here. There's still a risk of gales in the most exposed spots. The south and east of Scotland will see some clear spells and a scattering of showers. And across the north of England and Northern Ireland, we'll also see a mixture of clear spells and scattered showers to end the day. Further south, it's mostly fine towards the southwest with lighter winds here, with most of the showers across the southeast of England at this stage. Heading into the evening then and into the overnight period, those winds will start to ease across the far north and northeast of the UK, and it's the central slice of the UK set to see the most unsettled weather. Outbreaks of rain across Northern Ireland, southern Scotland and the north of England. To the southeast of that, mostly dry, fairly cloudy, and a touch of frost forming with some slightly colder air starting to tuck back in there across the northwest of Scotland. As for Tuesday, the air could become cold enough across the far north there to give a little bit of winteriness once again, particularly across the northwest Highlands and across the southern uplands of Scotland. Elsewhere though, it's a mostly cloudy day in store with outbreaks of rain developing on and off through the day, most of that on the fairly light side. And wherever you are, temperatures stay pretty respectable for the time of year, especially away from the far northwest. Here, temperatures around 5 to 7 degrees, but once again peaking at 10, even 11 Celsius down towards the south and southeast.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, welcome back. Let's go live to Los Angeles now, where we can get the latest on an incident that's happened at an anti-Iranian regime protest. So there was around 600 people protesting the current Islamist regime in Iran. A truck careered into the crowd. As far as we know, there are 2 minor injuries, no fatalities, but this is the moment the truck went into the crowd. Take a look. Well, that's astonishing footage. I mean, you have to think, judging by that, it's lucky that, as we know so far, that there are only 2 minor injuries. Witnesses said that truck, it's a U-Haul truck, which is basically a rental van for people to move houses. They said that the truck barreled towards protesters waving Iranian flags. The protesters were anti-regime. They want the Ayatollah out. They're in support of the protesters in Iran. They want the Islamic regime out. But this truck that careered into the crowd had a message on the side. It had a large banner taped to its side reading, "No Shah, no regime, USA, don't repeat 1953, no Mullah." And 1953 is, as Simon Hankinson has explained, is the CIA MI6 operation to overthrow the...
I don't remember the exact date, but it was around that time. I'm assuming that's what he's referring to as the overthrow of the president.
Footage now on your screen shows the moment that the truck came to a stop. Protesters were seen in other clips dragging the driver out of the van, and the driver is on the bonnet of the truck fending away angry protesters. He's being bashed with, I think this is the clip here if you're watching on telly, trying to whack him with flagpoles, trying to punch him. We understand the LA Police Department have since arrested the person driving the truck. We can see he was probably a male, and we'll wait for more information as we get it. But as it stands, 2 minor injuries. Luckily, so far, no fatalities. But you have to think, with that message on the side of the van, that this was a political attack. So there's the U-Haul truck in the crowds there. If you're just tuning into the Late Show Live, a crowd of around 600 has been targeted by a man driving a truck at Iranian protests in Los Angeles. More as we get it. Right, let's move on. Really, another astonishing story, actually. Scores of British councils back home in Blighty, they've been told to hang their heads in shame after it emerged that more than £115,000 has been spent, of your money, taxpayer money, to take down Union Jacks and St George's Cross flags. A Freedom of Information request exposed how up to 47 councils all across the land, some cash-strapped, basically bankrupt, have been giving out lucrative handout contracts to take down our national flag from the streets. Earlier tonight, Alex Armstrong had the co-founder of Raise the Colours, Ryan Bridge, on his show, and he asked him for his thoughts on this, as I said, an astonishing story. Take a look.
Final word to you. What would be your message to these local councils that are taking the flag down?
We're going to be putting 2 up for everyone you take down, and look at.
So Ryan there basically saying that if he finds any council taking flags down, he'll put 2 up to replace them. Let's get the take now of the founder of Follow the Flag, a non-profit organisation promoting patriotism by flying huge flags all across the land, Brent Jensen. Brent, nice to see you. Thanks for staying up with us. What's your take on this? It seems absurd, especially from America where I am. Flags flying everywhere, everybody loves it, so patriotic. Our councils are spending our money to take ours down.
Yeah, that goes against a lot of what we believe in building patriotism by hanging and flying our flag.
Yeah, it's nuts. Do you think councils should be spending their money doing this kind of thing, especially when they're borderline bankrupt?
No, I think the flag should stay flying to build that patriotism. The more that they fly, the greater the unity in the country.
So why can Americans fly their flag with pride and jubilation, but us in the UK can't? What do you think the difference is?
Well, I'm not sure what's going on there, but I do know that we use the flag as a symbol of love and patriotism, and we hang it to honor and heal and inspire those that are around us.
Have you ever had anything like this stateside where people are burning the flag, taking the flag down because they hate, for example, President Trump? Does that happen?
Sure, we see that around our country. We don't see it a lot in our organization or near our organization, but it does happen. But our whole goal is to, like I said, unify our country and build a great sense of patriotism and love in our country.
Okay, and just finally, what does your organisation do? Follow the Flag. You fly massive flags everywhere?
We do. We have a 400-pound flag that we hang in several canyons on holidays. We set up flag lines to honor those who may have been killed in the line of duty and honor them at their funerals and their services. We pretty much fly the flag any chance we can.
Okay, great stuff. And finally, Brent, I think the biggest American flag I've seen was at Circuit of the Americas, the racetrack in Austin, Texas. Do you know where the biggest flag in the USA is? Is that one of them?
Well, I believe that is one of them. Ours is the largest free flying flag. It's 78 by 150 feet. It's a very large flag, but the largest one that actually flies in the wind.
Okay, great. Brent, thank you very much. Appreciate your company, mate. And yeah, have a good week next week. Let's get the thoughts now of Paul Cox. Finally, Paul, GB News superstar, comedian Paul Cox is down the line. Sorry to keep you waiting, Paul. So much going on tonight, not least the situation in LA. What's your take on this flag nonsense?
What a waste of money. We need to sort of park everything we know for a minute and just look at this and think to ourselves, what is the offence that's being caused here? The flag only... This is something that exists in the mind of extreme liberals, extreme leftists. This isn't reality. The Union Jack, the England flag, the St George's Cross, they're not symbols of negativity. They're not signals of racism. This is what someone has manufactured in their mind and expressed like diarrhoea from their mouth, on far too many occasions. The council should just live and let live. These things aren't causing anyone any problem whatsoever. They're hanging at about sort of 16 foot, 3 metres in the air. They're not causing any safety issues. All they're doing is ruffling the feathers of people that feel incredibly squeamish about their own flag. We know this wouldn't happen in the States, Ben. You've already said that. There's absolutely no chance this would happen in the States. In fact, it wouldn't happen anywhere else whatsoever. A friend of mine went to Lithuania recently. Every time she sent a photograph back on a family's house or in the towns and the cities, there was a Lithuanian flag absolutely everywhere. There is no reason why we cannot fly the flag, Ben.
Well, some people would say, Paul, that it's a sign of supremacy and it's a sly message, wink, wink, nod, nod, like some Freemason, that this is our country and you're not welcome to it.
That doesn't mean that at all, though, does it? I mean, they can say that, Some people think that they're a woman when they're a man, and they're allowed to say that too. It doesn't mean I have to accept it. It just happens to be a perspective of somebody with a mind that probably needs to be challenged.
Yeah, OK. Victoria, what's your take on this nonsense? You wouldn't see that this side of the pond, would you? Imagine for a second, imagine the DC local government, well, it's the federal government, imagine the federal government paying contractors to go down the streets of DC and rip down American flags.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous. I mean, this reminds me of back a few months ago when we were talking about the young woman that got stopped and I believe maybe even arrested for having the Union Jack at a protest, at a demonstration. You know, I think I said this exact line back then, and I'm going to say it again now, that it shouldn't be controversial to have pride in your country. And, you know, here in the U.S., there's been people that try to paint the American flag as a symbol of just republicanism or right-wingism or conservatism, but that's just simply not true. And, you know, you can't have, you know, again, in the UK, right, if you have a leftist government and if in the UK it's a symbol of leftism, you can't have a national flag be a symbol of both things. And so I think people should, again, have pride in their country. Of course, you have to look at each individual countries and say, you know, we have problems and we want to discuss them. And, you know, especially those of us that are in media and in politics, that's why we do these jobs, is because we want to see at least in our case here, right, a more perfect union, and we want to make our country better. But we still have pride in it, even in days where we might not be super happy with what the government is doing.
OK. Simon, what's your take?
Look, I remember a couple of years ago when they said that the OK symbol, which I've known my whole life, was a white power symbol. Look, there's no limit to the boogeymen that they can invent. They don't like their country. They don't like their history. The far left despises, I guess, everything about the Union Jack and the history of Great Britain. But for me, as an American, you walk down the streets of any small town, every other house has a flag. Even in Washington, D.C., which voted 95% for Kamala Harris, there's flags outside people's houses, and it's a perfectly normal thing for people to do. So I wish they'd just let it be and stop wasting money on trying to take down things that are, completely harmless and that people put up and make them happy.
Yeah, especially when the councils are pretty much bankrupt. I mean, in Birmingham, they can't even afford to collect the bins because they're just so skint. I mean, it's just I just find it absolutely insane. Let's run through the papers hitting the shelves in Blighty tomorrow, starting with The Independent. Iran pledges to hit US military targets if Trump strikes. I tell you what. What military, Simon, any ideas? What military targets are they going to strike, Iran? We've seen with the Venezuela operation, the might and the power, and the Iranian operation, sending 3 B-2 bombers across to Iran last year. Venezuela using weapons that nobody even knew existed. What the hell does Iran think they're going to do against the United States?
Yeah, I'm sure they could do something, with drones. They had a drone factory in Venezuela building, Iranian drones. Yeah. And they could have suicide bombers, all manner of craziness if they wanted to. But that would really not be a good idea. This is a political issue, and, it's the old wag the dog story that they could think about trying to create some distraction somewhere else to take people's minds off what's going on in Tehran. But doing anything against the United States right now would be a really dumb move.
Yeah, and also the Iranian ambassador being summoned today because somebody climbed the embassy in London and took down a flag. It's like, guys, I think you've got something more serious to prioritise on the streets of your country than somebody taking down a flag. Like, why are you summoning ambassadors? The Metro tomorrow. Fire and fury as Iran revolts. The Eye. We're not ready to bomb Iran yet, warn US generals. Daily Express. Pharmacies in crisis after Labour's tax raid. The Telegraph, ban the IRGC, Keir Starmer is urged. That's the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. I'm surprised they're not prescribed already. There's a former IRGC guy living in Barnet. He bought his council house some years ago and he lives in Barnet. He wrote a book about supporting the fatwa on Salman Rushdie, Great Britain. The Guardian, Iran warns US not to attack as protester death toll soars. The Sun, taxi for the BBC, Beeb to blow £63 million on 24/7 cabs. I guess that's £63 million of licence fee money, all the grannies they're threatening with letters. And the Daily Mail, shot dead. Rabina, 23, a victim of the Mullah's death squads. This is a case study of one protester who was killed by the Iranian regime. Poor young woman, 23-year-old. But you know what? A tragic death, but boy oh boy, these brave protesters, people taking to the streets, knowing they could very well be killed and murdered by these despots. She will be remembered forever for her bravery. The Times, MPs that urge sacking of police chiefs in fans ban. That's about the Tel Aviv situation in Birmingham. Paul, just moving on about the Iran situation quickly. What's your take on the scenes we've seen on the streets in London today, quickly?
Well, the scenes that we've seen in London are fantastic in terms of, I mean, the guy yesterday that climbed up and replaced the Iranian flag, that was fantastic. I mean, the idea, I'm quite surprised he was able to, but good on him. He
was a good climber, very agile.
He was very good, wasn't he? I don't think I could do it, Ben. You could, Ben. I think I would just maybe help prop you up. But it's fantastic to see, and I tell you why it's fantastic to see, is because of the juxtaposition between these protesters, much in the same way as we found with the Venezuelan celebrants, jubilation scenes. What we're seeing now with Iran is the people of Iran, culturally enriched people of Iran that are in the UK, telling us this is what they want. And it's against, just down the road, people protesting in favour of Hamas and in favour of Palestine. And that juxtaposition tells you everything you need to know in one encapsulated bubble about what's going on in the culture war right now. These people are incredibly brave and they know exactly what they're up against. The Palestinian protesters have absolutely no idea. They will switch their flag for a Venezuelan one. They will change their mind once Owen Jones tells them what to think. But these are real people who want to see real change. And I really hope that they get it. One thing I really also hope is that we see change across the world. Now, it's probably not unpopular to say with this audience, but it is incredibly unpopular to say outside this audience. But what Donald Trump's doing now, whether it's neoconservatism or imperialism or whatever it might be, it will eventually bring stability. Having Venezuelan oil, having Greenland, seeing Iran and the Islamic Republic topple will bring stability to Western Judeo-Christian nations. And as a result, I think we'll see a lot of good things happen, Ben. Now, I know it's squeamish. I know to look at these things. These are real people. We just saw that tragic story on the front of a lot of the papers, that beautiful young woman who has now tragically been taken from us. This, unfortunately, is part of what happens in revolution. And we've lived a pretty unique, peaceful life, most of us on this panel, and what we're seeing now is perhaps the tectonic plates of superpowers shifting, and we have to choose a side, Ben. We have to choose a side. There are three main superpowers on this earth: Russia, China, and the US. Now, I align myself with the US, and come what may as a result, but I align with them because their sensibilities align with mine. Iran, Russia, China, they're all on the opposite side of the argument. And if we allow the Islamic Republic to continue, and their people don't want it, we can see they don't want it. If we allow Russia to continue, and the people of Europe don't want it, we continue down that path, we will have all these problems. Let's get rid of the Palestinian protesters. Let's get rid of the Islamic Republic in Iran. Let Trump bring some stability to the world, Ben. Sorry, I don't know what happened to me there. You was expecting comedy, and I think I just...
No, Paul, I agree, and it's Bev was talking about it the other night. It seems to me that President Trump is the only person at the moment, and his administration, trying to pretty much save the West from its own self-destruction, and many people still can't see it. They just think, oh, because he's got a certain way with words and maybe he ruffles people up the wrong way, anything he does, they'll just say, well, Orange Man Bad, the infamous meme, Orange Man Bad. They can't see what he's trying to do. Paul, let's move on, because today, former US Ambassador Peter Mandelson, Lord Mandelson, he had his first sit-down interview since his unceremonious sacking last year, after emails emerged that, about the true extent of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. In the interview, the Labour peer declined to apologise to Epstein's victims for his association with the pedo, but in another moment of contention, Mandelson also seemed to suggest at one point that his homosexuality, as a gay man of course, was a reason he didn't have closer insight into Epstein's criminal sex life. Take a look.
Possibly some people will think because that I'm a gay man, I was sort of insensitised, or I wasn't attuned to what was going on. I don't really accept that. I think the issue is that because I was a gay man in his circle, I was kept separate from what he was doing in the sexual side of his life. It's possible that some people crossed over, but I didn't, and I think probably the reason I was separate from the third of those is because I'm gay.
What do you reckon, Paul?
What a load of tosh. It's because I was gay. Look, he went to Epstein Island. They didn't have a special gay area on Epstein Island where nothing was happening and it was just, you know, sunbathing and beach ball. It was none of that going on. The man was involved with Epstein. It's as simple as that. That's why he's no longer the UK's ambassador to the US. The hardest thing to say appears to be, I'm sorry. I mean, the man should never have been in the position he was in anyway. Absolutely not. We have to blame Keir Starmer for that. Who on earth puts Peter Mandelson in any senior position? I don't know. His history tells you that he's been sacked about 6 times after about 3 months of doing absolutely anything. Controversy follows him around the world. But as far as being gay as an excuse, I'm not having it at all.
Victoria, what's your reaction to that?
I mean, I think it's definitely quite similar to Paul's. I don't think you could have gone to Epstein Island and not known what was going on. Of course, we have more and more.
He says he never got involved in it.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I don't quite think I myself am buying that. Now, you know, there's going to be more and more that is going to be released by the U.S. Department of Justice. There's some Republicans, including Congressman Thomas Massie, who, of course, was one of the people that spearheaded the vote to release the Epstein files in Congress, that, you know, is kind of upset at the rate of which the documents are being released by the DOJ. But I'm sure that more and more powerful people, both in the US and the UK, their names will be all over these DOJ documents as they are continuing to be released. And, you know, I'll be interested to see if Mandelson's name comes up in those releases in the future.
Simon, did you see Bill Gates' wife received £8 billion in the divorce settlement? I think one of the main reasons they split up was because he was mates with Epstein as well.
That's a lot of cash. Yeah, I mean, look, Epstein is like the Chernobyl of careers. It doesn't really matter what you knew and who you were with. If you were friends of his and you went to the island, you're kind of radioactive. And there were lots of people who went there, and I'm sure some of them probably had nothing to do with the dirtier side of Epstein, but it's just the taint that goes with it. And, you know, Mandelson was a casualty of that. I don't know what he knew and what he didn't know, but at this point, it seems like nobody cares.
Yeah, I still don't understand why Keir Starmer put him forward for that job. Surely Starmer must have known about Mandelson being, you know, even if they weren't friends, being associated with Epstein, that is bad enough to become ambassador for the UK to Britain, to the United States. We've got live pictures on your screen now of Washington, D.C. This is Air Force One, which has just landed. I assume President Trump's on board. He spent the weekend, as he normally does, at the Winter White House, Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida. Again, I think this has landed, this plane, at Joint Base Andrews. Is it in Maryland, Joint Base Andrews? You saw it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's in Maryland. Just up the road from Washington, D.C. I think we're waiting for President Trump to get off the plane. What do you think, Simon, about President Trump spending most of his weekends at Mar-a-Lago? He leaves on a Friday night, spends 2 days in Florida. I guess the sun's out, nicer climate. But he still works. That's okay, isn't it?
A lot of presidents have done that in the past. I think Joe Biden spent more time at his Delaware beach house than he did at the White House. So it's not uncommon. And yeah, I imagine he's got a full staff there and the full communications array and pretty much a little mini version of the White House. And so he's able to work as efficiently there as here.
Jackie Briggs on Your Say has said, hello Jackie, hope you're okay. You've said not many comments being read out tonight, Ben, not like you. Sorry, it's been such a packed show with breaking news, I apologise. Send me a comment, Jackie, I'll read it out to you. Jan said, I'm so bored with all this Epstein stuff now. Beverly Pierce, you said, this makes me feel sick. I think you're talking about Epstein and hopefully not watching me. Kay, you've said, Mandelson may be gay, but he's not blind or deaf. Bobby Dazzler said, hiding behind your sexuality is no defence. And lots of people agreeing with you, Paul Cox, on your various thoughts. Yeah, Victoria, the Winter White House, Mar-a-Lago, I was back home in England over Christmas and the New Year, and I thought President Trump would take the opportunity to, like me, enjoy himself and have a bit of time off. He was at Mar-a-Lago welcoming Netanyahu, Zelensky, people turning up for meetings. He was announcing all sorts of different diplomatic policies and updates. The guy doesn't rest, does he?
No, he absolutely doesn't. I mean, just last week. He sat down for an interview with the New York Times. They had 3 reporters there. That's, of course, probably one of the outlets that's been most critical of Trump. So I think that's just an example that he's willing to talk to anybody and get his message out to anybody. But, just on the idea of the Winter White House, it was from Mar-a-Lago where Trump watched the raid on Maduro's compound in Venezuela. So he definitely has the capabilities down there.
Yeah.
His advisors travel with him down there. And, a couple of my colleagues were there working the White House pool that weekend. So, they were definitely very busy both on the day of the raid and on a flight back. So I think he works all the time, even when he's not in D.C., and I think that's refreshing to see. That's a refreshing change to see from the Biden administration.
Yeah, well, Simon mentioned Joe Biden always being asleep on the beach in Delaware. I drove to his Delaware hometown about 4 weeks ago, and I can see why he liked it so much. It's great. It's a seaside town on the East Coast. You've got the Atlantic. It's great. President Trump, at least, is working from Mar-a-Lago. Lots of comments about Scotland being urged to boycott the World Cup because President Trump's a bad guy, apparently. Jan, you said there's not a chance in hell that the Scottish football team will boycott the World Cup. It's the first time they've qualified in years. I can just imagine not just the teams, but the fans' reaction if they were told they couldn't go. Christine, you said, I'm Scottish. I love the Don, Donald Trump, and GB News. I'll be supporting the team in America. Keith, you said, no prizes for guessing the average Scots footy fan's response to boycotting the World Cup in summer. Begins with an F and ends in an off. And Ian, I'm going to read your comment again about Keir Starmer banning X. You said, gosh, I'm concerned for Keir Starmer. Talking about X, he looks deranged and slightly mad. Ian, you made me laugh uncontrollably in the first hour, so thank you for that. Simon, did we talk about Scotland being urged to boycott the World Cup?
I don't think we did.
No. What do you think about it?
They're doing it to, cutting their nose off to spite their face. No one's going to care. I don't think Donald Trump is a huge soccer fan. I would be personally sad if Scotland didn't show up. And I think it would be a disaster for Scottish fans and for the team. So it would achieve absolutely nothing. I don't know if anyone remembers the U.S. boycott of the Olympics in 1980. Probably not. It did not achieve its goal. Boycotts don't typically. It's just grandstanding. So I hope this columnist is ignored.
There's no way in hell anyone's going to be listening to some deranged Scottish lefty columnist for the Courier. The Courier is based in Dundee, where my wife's family are from. It was a great paper. Silly column. Caroline, you've said nobody could be sick at the sight of you, Ben. Thank you, appreciate that. 5 is in the post. And who else? Caroline, again, you've said there's a big American military plan in Iran just now. Simon, talking of Iran, so if you just tuned into GB News, we're looking at live pictures of Joint Base Andrews in Maryland. President Donald Trump is expected to walk out the door of Air Force One any moment now. He's been spending his weekend at Mar-a-Lago in Florida. Talking of Iran, what do you think will happen in the next week or so? Because Trump's meant to be meeting senior advisors to discuss how to proceed on Tuesday. What do you think proceeding looks like?
It's a real tightrope. I hope that Iran is able to solve its 50-year problem of being ruled by these medieval mullahs who have just ruined their economy, oppressed their people. I mean, I'd love to see demonstrators out in the street against that as opposed to just Gaza all the time. But for the United States, we've got to play our cards really, really carefully. We want to help them and not antagonize them and not help the regime in any way.
Yeah. OK, Paul Cox, sorry, I forgot you were there, my friend. I apologise, not because I think less of you, but you just disappeared visually. So you are still there, and I appreciate your company. What do you reckon about this call for Scotland football fans and the team to boycott the World Cup, Paul?
Well, it's incredibly disconnected, isn't it? It's like this woman doesn't live anywhere where there's any other Scottish people. The idea that the vast majority of Scottish fans, the idea that the vast majority of Scottish fans would care what Donald Trump thinks with regards to whether they should go to the Donald Cup. Christ, don't give him any ideas. It'll be called the Donald Cup soon.
That's great. I love that. The Donald Cup.
But the World Cup. I mean, Tatchell was on earlier, wasn't he? God bless Peter Tatchell. I mean, he had this believing that ICE were going to arrest Scottish footballers. They're not going to arrest Scottish footballers. The average Scottish footballer is paler than me. They're like a newborn fish. You can see through their skin. There's no way that they're going to be mistaken for an illegal migrant.
Yeah, and also, I'd like to see ICE, as tough as they are, I don't know how tough they are, they're armed to the nines, I'd like to see ICE go up to a Scottish football fan and ask them for their visa credentials. I can imagine what they'd say. They'd say, mind your own business, wee man.
Something similar to that, Ben, yes. I think there might have been another off.
Yeah, and one more story, Paul. Anything that's taken your fancy on the front pages?
Not really.
I
mean, what I would say, well, when I say not really, I mean, Iran is the big deal. Iran is absolutely the big deal. There's no two ways about it. We're at the beginning of an uprising at the moment. This could lead to a revolution. I don't want to get carried away, and I don't know if I want a revolution either. For all the posturing and bravado I presented with you earlier. Look, these are real people with real lives, and I personally know Iranians, good people, real good people, and they do deserve change. This Islamic Republic in Iran does not represent the vast majority of Muslims in Iran, all the good Iranian people. So for me, that's the big story, and I think that's going to be the story of the first quarter of 2026, along with Trump becoming emperor of the world.
Yeah, don't tell that to Democrats. Connor Stringer, friend of the show and the reporter for The Telegraph here in Washington, D.C., alongside Rob Crilly. He's written a story for The Telegraph tomorrow saying the Trump administration is preparing for possible cyber attacks against Iran to punish the regime for killing hundreds of protesters. The president's been presented with military options to attack, but has been warned by officials that it's too early for that. And media reported that officials would, on Tuesday, as we've been discussing, would give Trump options for a number of non-lethal measures, including amplifying anti-government criticism online and deploying secretive cyber weapons against Iranian military and civilian sites. Simon, cyber attacks as opposed to non-lethal attacks, is that sensible? Surely the Iranian protesters on the streets in Tehran and the other provinces would just fancy some B-2 bombers making an appearance.
Yeah, I think anything that helps them to take their own future in their own hands would be great. The idea of us, taking out military targets makes me very nervous because, look, you want to kill any civilians. I'm sure the people out there protesting would be happy if the regime, lost resources and maybe even people, but they don't want to see civilians get hurt. So I hope we would constrain ourselves to things like communication, cyber, all of the various ways that we have of helping them to achieve their own goals.
Victoria, any thoughts finally on Iran before we let you go?
I mean, again, I just think that Congress needs to be involved if there's going to be any kind of a lasting action, and I think that's something that Congress would like to see too, whether Trump heeds that warning, again, given by that recent war powers vote that we saw last Thursday. I think it remains to be seen, but that's something that I would like to see because, again, I think time and time again throughout the Trump administration, Congress has said that they need to know more. And again, that's been both Democrats and Republicans that have been saying this.
Okay. Right, just I'll finish with a note of some your says, gbnews.com/your say. Vicky, hello Vicky. You've said, I have a Scottish fan, a friend who lives in the States. I bet she goes to the game. Vicky, Scotland are playing Brazil in Miami, and I can't wait to go. Scotland, Brazil, Miami, I'm there. I'm there for GB News. We'll bring you the best reaction to that. Beverly said the Scots will be out in force, Ben. I'm sure they will. And Paula, you've said, I hope and pray Trump cancels the Chagos giveaway. Do you know what? That could be one of the big stories gaining traction in the next week or so. There is so much pressure now. It feels like there's Trump leaving Air Force One from Joint Base Andrews. He's got his white MAGA cap on, USA cap, walking down the steps of Air Force One. Hopefully he doesn't do a Joe Biden and collapse down the steps. I think Biden fell up the steps. But he's enjoyed a restful weekend, I guess, at Mar-a-Lago. He's still been working, but the sun's shining in Florida, in Palm Beach. President Trump now making his way down the steps of Air Force One, saluting military personnel who are welcoming him back to Washington, D.C. And he's got a big week ahead, hasn't he? He's got Venezuela to think about. He's got Iran to think about. He's got domestic matters as well. For a guy of his age, you have to say he doesn't stop working. He's pretty dogged in his mission. And Trump has said, just before he departed Air Force One just then, he said that he has spoken to Iranian opposition leaders on the phone. He's in contact with them to do with the situation on the ground in Iran. He said Iran called to negotiate on nuclear as well. So President Trump, he's arrived back from Mar-a-Lago. He's got a big week ahead. He is a hard worker, do you think, Victoria?
Yeah, definitely.
For a guy of his age.
No
How old is
doubt
he?
about
81?
it. No doubt about it. I mean, I just know from
79.
the reporter side, it's hard to keep up with, just thinking back of what it was like on the campaign trail, keeping up between Trump and JD. And I was mainly planted on the East Coast, but they would go back and forth between the East Coast and the West Coast for events. It's exhausting keeping up with him.
And that helicopter there, Simon, is Marine One?
Yeah.
Yeah. I often see that sort of whizzing overhead in Washington. There's a few of them, isn't there? Are you aware?
There's always more than one.
There's always a decoy.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what it is, a decoy?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So Marine One will leave Joint Base Andrews now. Trump's on board, and I suspect once I leave the studio in 5 minutes, I'll see it. Landing at the White House. The White House is just a few blocks away. So yeah, great shots here of President Trump. He's on board Marine One. He's heading back to the White House for a big week ahead. Paul, are you still there? Thanks for your company tonight, mate. Really appreciate it. And just tell me very quickly, I like to do this now to finish my shows. What are you up to tomorrow, very briefly?
Tomorrow I'm going to be sitting down in my YouTube studio talking absolute nonsense into a camera on my own, Ben.
No change there then, Paul. Simon, what are you up to?
I'll be preparing for my testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee on Wednesday.
Oh, what's that on?
It's on Afghan vetting.
Oh, great. And Victoria?
Well, shoot, I guess I have to tune into Simon's hearing on Wednesday, but of course I'll be running up and down Capitol Hill, chasing congressmen, senators, asking them about Greenland, Iran, Venezuela, all the fun things.
Good stuff. Thank you, panel, tonight. Really appreciate your company, and you viewers and listeners back home as well. Bev is back with you tomorrow. I'll see you again in a couple of days. Thanks for your company tonight. Sweet dreams, and see you soon.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
A really important thing about GB News, and it's brought something completely different to the landscape.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
GB News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor,
and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, the reality is that most British journalists are afraid. That's not GB News.
Journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
We're here to talk about things in a way that have never been broadcast on British Airways before.
Do not miss a moment on GB News.
The #1 news channel in the country.
Welcome back. Good evening. I'm Bethany Elsey with your latest headlines from the GB Newsroom. Iran is warning it will retaliate if it's attacked by the US amid reports that hundreds of people have been killed during nationwide anti-regime protests. It's reported more than 500 people have been killed during the demonstrations and more than 10,000 arrested since they began 2 weeks ago. President Donald Trump has threatened to intervene to protect Iran's citizens. Sakir Starmer is in talks with European allies about